God. I've been galactivized. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Restructuring.
Well, the island.
Hang on. Let's see here. Oh, it's going.
Okay, I see it. Yeah.
Is the title right? Yeah, title's right.
Yeah, we're good.
My God. Whew. Man, I'm so excited to be talking to you.
Telling me about it, man.
Well, Morgan put up a post on Facebook specifically to the feminine, and then a day or two later, she put one up to the masculine. Come tell the hero's journey. Anyway, I don't know what got into me that day. I just got on, and at the end of that solo, that was about, I don't know what, a week ago, and I said, hey, we're looking for, and then I got, we're looking for people to come on and talk about their journey. And I got a message from you, and I got one from this beautiful lady in Alaska. And they were both just like, yeah, these are gold. So I was like, and then when I pulled up your email, and and I saw at the bottom you were in Puerto Rico. So I was like, cool. So this ought to be interesting. And then I went to see if you had a Facebook, because I noticed this morning that you were under Taino Galactico, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool. And I don't know. And so, like I said, I spent the last hour and 15 minutes, and now I think I kind of understand that you must have had something to do with it. So we'll have to see. But man, welcome to the show, Gunyao. It's good to see you. Just don't start speaking Spanish, because I'm a coconut. I'm brown on the outside.
Consider it light language, man. I think that's the new foreign language. There's no such thing as foreign language. It's now light language. Like that episode with the girl that she was.
Oh my God.
That was light language.
How do you get 30? What was it? It was about 27 minutes. That thing is done on all the platforms, about 12 or 13,000 views. That's a lot. And considering, I know her personally, I met her in Sedona, but there's no, but you saw it. You saw how it came through, just like you're coming through now with that prism above your head. And some people will say, oh, well, that's the camera, or that's a reflect. Well, you know what? It may be, but you can try to disprove everything, but all the elements of our senses are being amplified. So I trust it very much. But it's really good to have you, man. I feel like we're having a reunion.
I think so too, man. It feels like I've known you for a while. I came on to Soulogy in the beginning of 2020 when the supposed lockdowns, whatever. Don't ask me how. I don't recall how. Yeah. Or and then I've had a connection. I've seen you evolve as I evolve, and I've been through stages in my life. I have this kind of photostatic memory where I hear phrases, and I've been through some powerful experiences since I came on to, listening to the show, and I hear, I'm going through something, and I hear something that you said, or I hear in a show, and I had an inkling of a personal, because I've really been very not a lot of faith. I've been for a long time, incredulous, person. And so one of the last things that I've been coming on board is synchronicity, Todd, because that you could be going through something. It's coming in your field, and it's coming in my field too. And in others people's fields, I get goose all over the world. And and I really doubted that, man. But the evidence is so overwhelming now that I can't deny it, man. I really can't. I really can't.
Yeah, man, like the last hour. next time you're going to leave your body, let me know so I can be in line with the synchronicity. But to your point, I actually wrote you, and I'm infamous. I mean, I'm infamous for reaching out to people and going, hey, let's do a show. And then months will go by, you know, they'll respond, and it gets buried. So I actually had responded to your email, you know, a couple, 2-3 days after you wrote, and then said, hey, what are you doing Saturday? Because I had a little slot open Saturday, and Morgan had already had some scheduled on Saturday, which we don't normally do, but I figured since I had one. And then I'm working at 3:00 in the morning last night, and I went to the email, and I thought, oh my God, I missed it, you know. So and you had answered and said, don't worry, man, Saturday was a doozy, right? And it was, right? And I'm bringing this up because of the synchronicity that you're talking about, because yesterday was probably, to me, the most validating day ever of what you're talking about. It seemed like everywhere I turned, everybody was connected. I ended up doing that solo show in the morning. It's gone crazy in terms of the Soulogy metrics. I mean, it's just gone nuts. You know, in terms of resonance and engagement by people. So yeah, what you're saying is true, and I think it's just going to continue to happen. So now you said that I don't know. I feel like we're, you know, it's good to see you again, brother. I mean, I don't know how to put this, but you know, you said that you were a bit incredulous, that you were. Yeah, I think you're basically alluding you're a borderline atheist. And a lot of people that I've met over the last 10 years have what I call a faith quake of some sort, you know, where they're cussing God and they're just like, hey, you know what? F off. You know, I mean, I don't believe this shit, you know. What's your story, man? Have you, because you look like you're balanced, you're lit, you're illuminated. You know, you're clear. I mean, you seem to be confident and comfortable. What happened prior to 1st of 2020? Did you have a journey, or was it just peaches and cream the whole way?
No, man, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Like Nicola Farmer, that's her name, said yesterday. You know, I'm mostly grateful, Todd, that for whatever reason, at some point in time, I mean, I obviously I don't do a soul like Soulogy, but this is what I do, man. Okay, this is what I do in my life now. You know, and it wasn't by virtue. It wasn't by that I decided, oh, I'm gonna perceive a higher state of consciousness, or I'm going to evolve, or I'm going to be a better person. No, it's been always a process and through pain. You know, and the incredulous part, I was indoctrinated or, you know, programmed, like we say, in a Judeo-Christian environment. Very, very strict, man. Like very, very, you know, very strict, you know. And, you know, when I was about 8 years old, I was going to be baptized. To give you an example, and I told my mom, well, I need to ask the pastor a question. And so I went to the pastor. I said, so you say that God knows everything and is omnipotent and knows everything before it happens. So why in the heck would he put the tree there with the apple if he knew that we're gonna eat it and the whole hell was gonna break loose? And now why would he do that?
How old were you? 6?
6, 7, yeah, something like that, man.
True light worker, rebel.
And I still went through it. You know, I remember like the of going to being dipped in the water and whatnot. But for me, it's been going back and putting the pieces together. You know, and obviously, you know, like a lot of people, I went through child abuse, and I've had to, you know, my dad was a Vietnam veteran, came back. He, you know, from an early age, what I did was I adopted my parents' traumas and I made them mine. My mom had been a nun in a convent. You know, my grandfather died drunk in a ditch. Something I never met him. You know, so they each had their tragic, and I made those stories mine, man. Like I was responsible, like in my subconscious, that I had this light that I was going to heal them. And so at an early age, I remember about 12, and I don't know what happened, but I remember like I had like a deja vu. I was sitting in the stairway in my house and I had like a deja vu moment, and something shifted, man. And I don't know if that I decided to disembody, but you know, I spent many years trying to disembody. Well, we will, you know, what we call addictions. We call them distractions, you know.
Oh, is that what you call it? I'm going to start using that term so everybody doesn't think I was a heathen.
Yeah, distractions. So I decided to disembody, you know, because I blame it wasn't safe because I made and so I got overwhelmed and my personality. I started to get programmed. Now I can see that. I remember now why my favorite toy was a telescope growing up. I was looking at the stars, but the telescope ended up me using it to my grandfather look at the horse track, you know, look at the races, and he could listen and bet on the horse track. That's what it ended up happening to the telescope. And so I adopted, you know, all this personality to appease, you know, the programming, and I decided to disembody. You know,
wow, that's trippy that you use that term, and I think about you know. Morgan telling me about her early traumas and how she disassociated. It was the first time I ever heard somebody make the connection of disassociating, you know, to remove themselves, but at the same time they're connecting at a higher level and honing those skills because they are out of body. I never thought about that type of lifestyle being that way, but now listening to you, I can see where it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you know, and that's a point that to me, we talk about waking up with not. There was always like an internal condition, and I was awake to the external. Like I knew for a long time. I started with what we call the agenda, you know, the external. But I had that internal condition where I was trying completely to disembody, you know, and so. I'm going to be stagnant. I'm not, because if I'm not embodying, I'm not going to be authentic. I'm not going to grow in consciousness, and I may know it. And I knew it. I think that's why it was so painful, because I knew that I could be so much better, that, you know, that I'm stuck in this pattern of disembodying. And so, you know, for example, we talk about, you know, a lot of people leave their corporate jobs and, you know, because they become awake. Well, I'll tell you what, I was mirrored, you know, fast forward to 2008. I'm working a corporate job in the city of Chicago. I made it to the big time, hillbilly from, you know, I made it to Chicago. I'm working a corporate job. Okay. And I'm sitting in my cubicle, Todd, thinking, I can't do this for another 20 years, man. And so every day, like a week before, you know, like a 2-week period, I started taking all my personal things home and deleting everything from the computer. And I would come to my office, to the work, and I said, you know, I got to go to my boss's office. I'm going to tell them I got to go to a rehab. They're going to pay for it. Okay. And the days will go by and I never did it. In my subconscious, the fear is like, well, I'm just going to go do that thing for 30 days. I'm going to come back. I'm going to go. I know myself. I'm going to go back to what I always do. And it's going to be more embarrassing. So that went on for 2 weeks. So here I'm 40 years old. I've got supposedly a career, whatever, whatnot. But I'm in shambles inside, totally disembodied, man, totally disembodied, living in illusion. The matrix, the inverted track. And so I went in there one day, man, after Labor Day, around September 2008. And I came in the morning, something happened with the Walmart account, you know, boom. I said, this is it. This is the moment. So I had my resignation letter. I went to the office. I handed it to my left, and that was the end of my corporate career. And so I knew I left the job, knowing it subconsciously that I couldn't do that for another 25 years, man. That wasn't life. I knew I was dead inside, but I was stagnant, man. I couldn't, so there was a level of awakening. Like you said, I was half asleep, but I still left my corporate job. Some people, like we associate that with being awake, but and I had no plan, dude. I had no plan. I just knew that couldn't be my life for the next 25 years. And it's been, believe me, because growing up at the age of 17, my family, I moved from Puerto Rico to Des Moines, Iowa, dude. I've done this grid work, dude.
That's funny.
And in 1984, dude, I moved to Iowa, man. And I remember the first day I was there, I stood in the corner, I believe it was 8th and Ashworth in West Des Moines, Iowa. I looked at the snow for the first time like that and the cold. And I said, wow, what am I doing here? And I knew there's something behind this, and growing up, we talk about mental illness. My aunt looked in the mirror one day at 23. She decided to disembody. She was diagnosed as a schizophrenic, and my uncle, he was diagnosed as a manic depressive. And in 1977, he left. We always had a family grocery store in this neighborhood where I live now, where I was born, and he left with a suitcase with $50,000, and he came back and I said, "Where you been?" Like one of us crazy. He said, "I just bought a couple apartments over there on 18th Stop in Santurce," and like, "You did what?" Whatever. So he ended up living here. He had one breakdown. He ended up being taken out of here in a straitjacket. He tried to break the wall. Then the people that rented this, the people committed suicide in this apartment, in this space. When I moved in, there was needles, and so I'm telling you, 1984, I moved to the States with my family. Then 2008, I quit my corporate job. And now I know my uncle was in a higher dimension at that point in a galactic mission. Because guess what, Todd? After I quit my corporate job, obviously, I started going in and out of a 12-step environment and whatnot. And, my personal life kept getting worse, but I was more awakened to the exterior. And so I caught on a down low, whatever, man. Next thing you know, I used to live in this outskirts of Chicago, and I'm packing boxes and going to the post office, putting all my stuff and say, I got to go back home. Where are you going to live? I said, I'm going to go live in that apartment that my uncle bought. He never had any kids in 1977, where people have committed suicide and this and that. So I left my corporate job. My daughter, talk about the 12-year-old at the time, that was heartbreaking. But I knew I had to go, and people doing this now, but I was mired in disembodiment. I wasn't even, it was like, talk about higher self or whatever was guiding me to come back, to literally come back home, but physically and, spiritually, so I could embody, man. And so now living in this environment, I was born 2 blocks from here. Well, now I had to come back, cross the pond with no corporate, and discover all these things that I'm here talking to you now in this journey. I look at the exterior, and it's such a school for me to learn, about society, because what I'm getting, Todd, the synchronicity, you were talking about this yesterday on your live, what it's going to boil down to, man, is fall in love with humanity, man. And you better learn to look past the differences, because it's not about the medical thing. It's about love and you being able to love, to look at everybody's soul. Forget about their opinion, if they're woke or no woke, whatever. And the only way, because now you said the template, the energies feel strong. We've been given the template, man, the fight. But now that's when the work begins, because we got to learn how to use it. They gave us the keys to our dream home, but it's empty.
Yeah, they gave us the keys to a Ferrari. We've been riding a tricycle.
Yeah, we got to learn. So now there's no excuses. Now we know better. Now we have the tools. Now we can't use the same old excuses that we used to. Now, I leave my house today and I see the neighbor coming literally with a stick in her hand, bro.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, and she's got a stick in her hand because she's trying to protect herself from this dude that I know. He's from the States, that I hear him light languaging. He's gone in another dimension. To call him crazy, whatnot. And he's got his trauma. I know he insults, but I hear him, Todd, early in the morning, light languaging, walking down the streets. And I don't even think he does substance. He's just in another dimension, man. He has his trauma. And she's got a stick in her hand trying to protect herself from, because she's afraid of this dude. And I'm thinking, he's a light worker. So that's the disparity. That's what so how we're going to do this, I don't know. But somehow, some way, we're going to have to love everybody. And because I did the Soulogy Fest online, and that was fun. But that's easy. When we're connected because we're like-minded, that's easy. When talking to you, this is love. But what happens when we step out into the society and we have to deal with people that think we're crazy, or that we think of, whatever we think of, may think judgment of them? Because until we come together somehow, some way, man, I don't see how. I'm saying it boils down to interpersonal relationships. That's the intel that I'm getting, man. Yeah. That synchronicity, that now, okay, the universe gave us, responded and gave us this template. I felt you yesterday when you're live. Synchronicity, I got on and you were just starting. And I felt the energy. We've made the decision, bro. Okay, we're going to stand in sovereignty. We know we got to turn the page now and say, what are we going to do with that sovereignty? What are we going to do with this love that we have in our hearts for us now and for the universe? Because somehow we got to bring it all together, man. Because I don't see how we're going to, do this unless we come together, man. And that's why this golden child that you and Morgan birthed here. And believe me, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone in a way. I feel really comfortable now, but coming on and no shame, no guilt, talking about me openly, so that other people come on too. And we can talk about, we can see our differences, but look past that, because we're not all going to think the same. Because from what I've gotten taught, the best way for me to honor life, the human is the hero, is to be authentic, man. And like you say, when two people are authentic, they come together, they birth the golden child. So a true community, talk about redefining concepts. Community, they said it in the show the other day, is if I'm standing in sovereignty and you're standing in sovereignty, and I can see your differences and you can see mine, and we can still come together, that's true community. That's otherwise, yeah, that's it. I
mean, that's you're. I'm listening to you and thinking, this is embodiment, but taken out. Let's just say I'm embodied, and now I'm going to take it out into the world, and duplicate that with another soul. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
And I think it has to be done with the collective, man.
Yeah. Like
you say it all the time, no exceptions. We don't get to choose. we don't get to choose, and that's the intel that I'm getting, the synchronicities, and it's there. You know, I ran into Kenneth, another neighbor, yesterday. So Kenneth is he's from the States too. He's also has like a Native American Indian background, and he teaches me a lot because he talks about these things, but he's really hard headed, man, and he's living out of his car. And so he's like, man, here I am living in my car underneath all this electric cable. And I'm all against this. I said, well, I've got cell towers in my building. I live in the 7th floor. And you're talking about with Nicole transmuting, he said something beautiful. He said, I'm going to take this electricity, man, and I'm going to transmute it and use it for my prayers and use it to expand my love. I was like, shit, I'm going to take the fear that I have about the cell towers in my building and use that to transmit too, man. And then you're talking about the lady yesterday about transmuting and alchemizing, energies and all these things, so this, me having the chance to come back and live in this neighborhood and experience real life, not in a secluded, to see people, people in the corner, heroin users, people using, and now all this influx of tourists coming into, like, it's like there's a mixture of the neighborhood, and then now just influx of, I've got a guy from Australia. I've got an apartment here I rent in this building for a short term. He's coming from Reed, Australia, man.
Wow.
And yeah, something's going on with Australia, man.
But, yeah, no kidding, man.
yeah. And I've always wanted to go to Australia. When I was in that Judeo-Christian indoctrination as a kid, there was a preacher that used to come visit us from Australia and used to tour the island. And my dad used to be the translator. But yeah, I mean, it's somehow, some way, I think we have to come together and I think this platform is definitely an example, because I think that, I've met people from Soulogy here connected outside of they do a show and I connect and it replicates, because I don't think it's that simple, Todd, now that, well, we have this supposedly this group that's awakened and this group that's not.
Yeah, I don't either. No, because I don't either.
It's not that simple, man. Because even this way, it's not as simple as we have the people that are pro the medical procedure and one that is not. Because yesterday I was watching a live or somebody that was against the medical procedure, and now here, but at least here in this environment, now I see religious fundamentalists speaking about against this agenda and saying, well, we're the good ones. We're praying because Jesus is on our side and we're the good ones. And see, where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with I agree with what you're saying too, because we look at everything singularly, and we're multifaceted. So I can be 0-pointed in let's say 87th percentile. There's still 13 that I'm not good on. You know what I mean? In other words, I can be out of balance on it, and it could be a big issue. It could be 1% of me or you that's not in alignment, that becomes extremely polarized on a subject such as what you're talking about. So I do see what you're saying, and I do see that we have to check ourselves, and we have to check each other, and that doesn't mean, hey, stupid, don't go get this procedure, or you go get it. It means you do your thing and I'll do mine, and we'll break bread together. And that's just like you said at the beginning. This is powerful.
Yeah, because Franco talks about it a lot, and I resonate a lot with Franco. Like, you know, these souls, everybody has a role to play.
Hmm.
Nobody's more important than anybody.
Hmm.
And um, you know, just like, and I'm saying from my personal experience, like in my transformation, you said, where I'm bound, I've had to deal with the fact, for me, it's been hard with family, with restructuring my relationship with my mother and my father, especially honoring their mission. That if admitting that my mom came to play with narcissist codependence energies, and I accepted that role, man. I accepted to be I played in that, accepted to be manipulated, accepted to be an enabler, but I can't do that anymore, Todd. And to trust my mission, and to create a healthy space, that hasn't been easy, man. You know, to come to and respecting that people are going to love me the way they choose to love me, not the way I want them to love me. And for me to take responsibility for that, and for me to take responsibility and know that I also co-created this whole external situation. Because I can tell you now I'm balanced and all this and that, but for many years I contributed to it. I played my role in it, man. It's not like, now I can turn, no. And that we need it somehow, some way to trust the universe. I'm done fighting with it, man. And so the way, like Franco says, it's a playground, and I play the role until I don't want to play that role no more. And it's been hard for me to like you said, with because we're used to, have different roles to play, different characters. I'm this with my parents, I'm this in my work, I'm this with my daughter, I'm this with my friends, and this and that, and shedding all that and letting all that go allows me then to accept other people's roles once I step out of my safe container. Because inside my house, this is safe here, man. Zoology, this is safe here now. But for as far as I know, there's a whole world out there we have to integrate.
Yeah.
And bring into the fold without judgment, without finger pointing, without condemning, without thinking that we're better.
I love this show. I love doing this. So look, this is what I got. Okay, from listening to you, we talk about embodiment, right? We talk about embodiment like it's the promised land. Okay, stay with me. Yesterday, something happened in this world. I don't know what the hell it was, but to me, it was like day one. And I think in that solo I did yesterday, I said something about we have reached the destination of takeoff. Okay, it wasn't Todd. It's Todd, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like you now. This is higher self embodying, fusing with the human. And Taino, this is how it's going to go. Now, that's great. The light language is great. It's all great, but you just made me realize to a deeper degree that the embodiment is only good if it's shareable. It's only good if it can be replicated, and it takes two, right? One person. So yeah, we do the work, we land, and like you said at the beginning of the show, hey, that was just the boot camp or the training or the indoctrination or initiation. Now it's time to go to work. That's what you're saying, and I love you for that. Continue, please. Thank you.
No, that's it, man. I mean, it's got to be put to use. We have to we've been given, like they say, the keys to the kingdom, man. And so what are we going to do with it? It's not, and I understand there's a transition period where we want to, revel in because like you always say, Todd, everything is either code or programming.
Yeah.
Everything. And you alluded to it a little, like if I'm at a 0 point, okay, and I think that's what's happening, why the days are getting shorter, because the now moment is expanding. So when we're in the now moment, time collapses. That's why the days seem shorter, I think, because what used to be a brief now moment, now we can spend hours and hours, and that's the now moment. In the now moment, time disappears. And so if I'm in a 0 point, anything can be code.
Yeah.
Like you said yesterday, I'll watch the movie. Why did I watch it? The code came in the movie. But if I'm not at 0, if I'm running away from reality, and something comes into my field and I feel uncomfortable and I don't want to deal with it, and I'm not in honesty, sitting in nature can be programmed. Because if I go to nature because I'm running away from what's in my field, I'm just using it as an external. It's, praying could be a program. Zoology could be a program.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm running to come see a show and something's in my field, and I don't wait to watch the replay, I'm using it as a distraction.
You're right.
So unless I'm at 0 point, that's when anything becomes code. But if I'm running away from reality, man, and I'm disembodied at that moment, which we all go through it, and I reach for something, thinking it's programming.
Yeah.
Anything can be programming.
And therein lies the paradox. Like, I like the way you explain this, because in order for me to be aligned with the code that's being presented, I have to accept A, that this could be a program I'm looking at, and B, that this is pure infinite intelligence, mainstream, mainlined, and bring it to that point. Yeah, I get what you're saying. When you said you can go sit out in nature, well, you're right. Because look, this is the whole point that you're saying. And it's and again, this might not have applied 6 months ago. Hell, it might not have applied 2 days ago. All right. But something's changed. And we are, this is fascinating. We're made in the image. I look at it like this with Morgan. So the journey ended. Let's just say, I'm not saying it has, I'm just saying the journey for Todd ended. He reached a certain level of divine union within himself. Now he participates in a physical manifestation, physical matter of two mirrors doing that on the outside. But now this applies to everything, though, right? That's what you're saying. So the mission, the purpose, the reason, whatever, the opportunity, the potential is not in bypassing, even though the things that we've used that are now bypassing were necessary steps to get us where we are. But because no matter what happens? What happens in each one of our lives? What's happened in every one of our transformations? We get our ass kicked. We have revelations and epiphanies, and shit happens. And why? Because you go back to you go back to you go back to you. Now, we got that. Now what? Well, that's great. We can walk around illuminated and think we're blowing, lightning bolts out of our ass and lighting up the whole world. But until we take it to the streets, that's what you're saying. And I agree with you 100,000%. I think this is great intel. We can't hide. It's pointless. Can we affect the world through the ethers by me sitting in the studio, locking myself away from everybody and doing this so I can get my validation that I'm serving the universe? Yes, to a degree, because everything continues to expand, right? We're talking about soul. We're talking about creative energy that expands and that moves unimpeded. And so, but it makes sense. We are here to embody, and you're you're picking up on what I believe is this, let's just say the new language now, the new way of life, which is to go out and share it. And you think, okay, you see all these memes on in the community, you know, and basically it's like this. You're not at my frequency, so, you know, I'm walking away. In love and light and love and light and love and light. Well, you can say it, but you got to do it. So there's a lot more to be said. And if you look at our lives, look what we've done. We haven't taken small polarities that were this far apart. We've taken these giant ones, right, and brought them together. And it's the same thing, I believe, that you're leading to, which is profound. To go out and in some way, maybe to at least entertain the idea of going out and find those that are most opposed, or at least as they present themselves, to be there and meet them in this space. Because just like everything else, how are they going to know, or how am I going to know unless it's presented to me? I've never seen it before, right? It's my daughter. I'm on the show. I'll talk to you later.
Bless her heart, man.
Yeah. I'll hook up with her after the show. Go ahead, man. You talk.
No, and this is, like you said, this is new. This is new intel, because this happened to me yesterday, bro. When I recently started doing yoga, man. Yoga after 50. Okay, so
they have it for 60?
And it could be a program. It depends if I'm like we said. So I went after yesterday. This part I went. So it was a Saturday morning, and when I came out, boom! I ran into a neighbor that I had that I used to spend a lot of time with him. He lives nearby in sports and politics, something that doesn't interest me anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm like you, man. I spent so many hours watching sports and talking politics. And here he comes, with his, with his face cover and whatnot. I'm coming at you. Now I could have sort of taken the corner and avoided him, and I've blocked him from my phone at times because he calls me incessantly. But I'm like, okay, why do I have to run? Why do I have to? Well, let me just talk to him and face him and see his soul. Thank him, because while he's talking to me about, and I see how he's become like a he's into gambling now, baseball, and okay, it doesn't interest me, but I can read the energy and be empathy. Okay, I used to be compassionate, and at least at that moment respect his space, man, respect where he's at, and I don't have to avoid him. Because he had the medical procedure, because he's going to talk crap, because I don't, I'm in a higher dimension now, whatnot. Because I tell you, because I've done it. I can't see someone in the grocery store and I'll go this way, But, and then I ran into Alvin. Alvin spends his days in front of the local pharmacy waiting for the next fix. He's addicted to pharmaceuticals, but he greets me with a smile, showing the shirt that he has that I gave him, and he says a joke. And I respect, and this is a guy, man, that I run to him sometimes in the corner. He's like, what's going on? He's like, I don't understand, man. Why am I alive? I pray for God to take my life. I don't want to be here. Why am I alive? Tell me, man. He's like, I can't tell you, man, but listen, I can sit here and listen to you. And he's told me his story. He didn't get over a divorce and whatnot. And he's living in the street. But he's got a lesson for me. I can avoid him, or I could sit there and listen to him. And then I ran into Kenneth and the lady with the stick and this and that. And so I got the message yesterday, loud and clear. Yeah, you work on yourself. We have our space. We do what we do in the ethers. But when you step out, you better have compassion and empathy, because, that's the only way we're going to integrate this thing. Because if I'm in separation and judgment, and I can't be, talking about oneness in the universe, and then I can't walk down the street and avoid people or judge people, you know. So I got the message loud and clear, man, and without the savior complex, because Kenneth teaches me a lot. Because Kenneth is, I told him something, he's like, no, I got it. I was like, okay, shut up, man. Just be friendly. Don't tell him anything, and somehow, some way, emit love. To the message I got is be in love with humanity, man. You better fall.
Dude, this is like legit. This is legit, and at a minimum, something to think about. Because I respect everybody's reality, and maybe some people can. Maybe some people can sit in a room or a cave and affect the world. I think there's a stronger argument if you throw everybody in the same basket. Like, in other words, something that is uniform to everybody, it would make more sense that what you're saying is the way to go. We talk about, people come on and talk about the earth's going to split and we're going to have a great divide and one earth's going to go here, one's going to go there. Well, what the hell's the difference between that and heaven and hell? Okay. What's the difference between the piousness of, your conventional religion and a light worker circle? And look, we've all been there and we've all been a part of it. So, I don't like Socrates. The more I know, the less I know. I don't know anything. But one thing I do know is that, as the Christians say, this ascension could be called a come to Jesus meeting, and replace the name Jesus with whatever you want to. But in some way, we're on a trajectory to be butt naked to the soul. And everything you've ever thought, I'm going to know. And everything you've ever done, I'm going to know. And we all know, and if we just take, for instance, child molestation, this thing's a lot bigger than anyone thought. And it's not just the 1% in satanic cults doing it. It's fucking everywhere. It's touched almost everyone. So that's just one example. So imagine the whole world knowing your most impure thought or your most impure actions. Okay? This is where we're headed. I don't know if we're going to get there, but one thing about that type of reality is I believe it's an equalizing force, just like vulnerability is a power. Transparency is a power. Is it easy? No, because we're not used to it. It's like you said, we got the keys to a Ferrari, and we've been driving a little Model T jalopy that goes 12 miles an hour. I mean, it's your input, your explanation is, to me, very human is the hero-esque. Like, I'm real big on don't leave the human out. I get excited when I hear this lady, Alicia, my sister Alicia Brochet from Australia, on here talking about how she's pregnant and how a mantid appears in her room and says, "Oh, you're part of something. We've never done it before." And she says, "Well, what about the emotional element of the human being?" "Oh, well, we didn't figure that." Well, you better. See, so how are we going to find our power if we're not in love with humanity? Wow. I knew this was going to be a special show. And I know the reason I've been on my ass for an hour and 15 minutes thinking I was going to die was because of your energy. Because it happens sometimes. And I didn't even think about it when I was talking to Morgan. I didn't think about that I'm doing a show and this is the buildup. Our higher selves met. My body felt it. And now I can see why. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I want to go to Puerto Rico now.
Hey, man, I got a place for you right here in my building, man.
Well, I can't leave the U.S. jurisdiction.
You don't need a passport to come here.
I know. dude. I know that, and I know that, and I'm like, I'm gonna. I told Morgan, I don't give a shit if I got to swim to Australia. I'm coming because I know that's where I started this journey.
Okay. I met a lady from Australia through Instagram. She's an intuitive healer the other day, and she had been to Puerto Rico after the hurricane in 2007. Beautiful lady, man, beautiful soul. And she's telling me she came here from Australia and she had a recall of past lives here as a Taino woman. And we had a beautiful exchange. And she's like, or she just designed this oracle set, really beautiful, and I ordered it from Australia, and there's definitely something going on.
What was she there in Puerto Rico?
She was here in 2017. She came after the Hurricane Maria, and her and her husband, and she said she had recall of past lives here.
Yeah.
And so I just did a short video on Instagram about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she commented on it, and I felt the resonance because I can pick up on souls, but lately the third eye, the psychic abilities are I see they're coming on board, and I have a pretty good. I felt the resonance just from her comment, and then she was doing a live to present her oracle cards, and I jumped on board. And she said, "Oh, Taino's here." And then she started to say, "I was there," that she was here, her recall of her past life, and that she wants to come back and all. And so we made a beautiful friendship connection just by a comment, to a video. And she's I think she's out of Sydney, but definitely there's a connection. Something going powerful in Australia, and it's probably no coincidence that all the external noise that's going on there. I think more the louder the external noise is, it's just pushing us to go more inside. That's Absolutely. All it is. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's not like we're gonna go out in savior, programming or preaching. All I'm saying is when it's time to leave the safe space, when it's time to leave the house, be responsible. I'm telling myself this: be responsible, close to 0 point as possible, so that you can be in service to humanity, so that you can be a conduit to the solution. Not and then I complain, why is this taking so long? When is the 5D coming? Yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing about it?
This is powerful. Yeah, I mean, really, you're calling us all out. You're calling yourself out. You're holding yourself accountable. You're holding your brothers and sisters accountable. And granted, respect the journey. I get it, but sometimes what got you to this level isn't going to get you to the next one. That's how the universe works.
Boom. That's it.
All right. So it's okay. It's okay that we showed our ass and we had a superiority complex and didn't know it. But the fact is, there's 7.8 billion of us here. Even when Jason talks about NPCs, or Franco talks about, or Dolores Cannon or Edgar Cayce referring to cutouts and extras. Okay. I'm looking at every one of them as a soul, full blown, 100%, period. It's made of God. It's the God substance. They might be able to explain the spirit scientific in their own way, but oneness is oneness. And if we can't do it, it's kind of like, again, I'll use the example of Sacred Union. I ran across a post that I did 4 or 5 weeks after I met Morgan Lee. And I'm looking at it going, Jesus, I didn't know I wrote that on October 17th. I met her on September the 3rd. Right? But the information came through her. It was shown to me through her. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm very human on that part of my, I'm connected over here, but on this part, I'm very impaired. You know what I mean? When it was females, relationships. But the point is that there was something in me that clicked. And what I told myself was, if you can't find oneness with this person or something like this, you're never going to find it with anyone else. It starts, one at a time, right? One by one. And that's really what I'm hearing from you. And you know what? It rings true, because again, we can get caught. What's the difference between you or me raising hell, disassociating through drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and somebody who's in a cave constantly connecting to their multidimensional aspects and over-identifying with that, which means what? They're not present here. Well, you weren't present here. I wasn't present here. And I do feel like that regardless of what you do or I do or anyone else, this shit's going down. Let go or be dragged. And I think our contribution and our gift, and I know it sounds like, oh, how's that going to happen from the most mundane level? The human's such a, small and but it's going to happen from the choices we make. But there's no losing here, but we sure can create some powerful new universal code through these quote unquote small acts of kindness, through walking the talk. And you know what? That puts everybody on a level playing field. And I'm like you, these people that you're speaking of that are on the streets, when I was on the streets and I met people that were because I was in a what do you call it? Inpatient rehab because of some legal problems and my own volition for 90 days. I couldn't leave. 100 men. And I realized, because it was in the barrio. It was in the ghetto. I mean, it was in the ward, right? And it was an extension of the psychiatric system, is what I'm trying to say. But the individuals that I met that were not functional, that were dysfunctional by society standards and could not fit in, they showed me some things. They showed me light. They showed me illumination. They showed me truth. They showed me directness. They showed me alignment, and they're people. They're people too. When you go to catch the bus, 6 o'clock in the morning in the hood, and there's a crackhead standing there preaching to a congregation of 1,000 invisible people, some of the best stuff I've ever heard. I mean, our mirrors are multidimensional too. Our mirrors are extreme multiplicity too, and it's getting pretty interesting. I think all the old is going out. When I say all the old, it's everything right up to yesterday.
I feel the same way too, man. It's like a clean slate. Like, okay, you earned, you did some work, but now, and like you said, we've never, at least I feel, Todd, or collectively, we've never really lived to we've never been human. We've never been human because, Franco talks, the ego was installed. I don't know, the programming. And we've been conditioned to behave a certain way, but we've never, imagine this. Okay, we have given the opportunity to incarnate in this vessel, to be a human, and we've never been human.
Exactly.
We've never been human, bro, for thousands. And now, so how we have to learn to be human because we haven't been human. It's not what we think it is. That's the whole, supposedly what I'm getting is like, listen, you are a powerful, we like I say, we are soul. I am soul, man. We are human, and that is powerful beyond. We don't even realize the power that we have, and maybe minuscule. We've never really even been human. We've been a conditioned version of human, a programmed version of a human. But if we're going to go into this new dimension, then we're going to honor the name. Like I said, the human is the hero, but we better, I need to learn how to crawl and walk and, as a human, because I've never been anything but human.
It's interesting too, what you're saying, because, when I met Morgan, this was 4 years into Soulogy, and it was all about, fuck the ego. I'm not that. I am not a human being. I am a soul, and then I met her, and she showed me that you cannot find your soul until you find your human. Okay. So then that journey starts. We talk shadow work. We talk about zero pointing, whatever you want to call it. But what you're saying, and here we go with the triad and the Trinity energy again. You got the conditioned human over here. You got the soul here, and you got the divine human over here. And that's what I'm seeing through your words is functioning with that immortal superpower that is that, right? You're right. Like you said at the beginning of the show, it's like literally like we were given the keys to a Ferrari or even like a rocket ship, and we've been driving a tricycle, and we've been on this fast track indoctrination, and we can handle it. But it's almost like, we're coming out of training camp and everyone's going, hey, man, do you think we could have done this a little bit longer? Yet these are the same people that are saying, let's get this on the road. And now that we're going into the arena, there's still no playbook. And there's these superpowers that we're not accustomed to that will only come on board if we use them. And they're all centered on this conscious effort. And that's human. That's the God in the human. That is because you have a free will, and the old saying, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's looking. Wow.
Yeah, you said that a lot. You say, and that phrase, remember I told you I had these phrases in my head, at the end of 2020, I don't know if I had a walk-in or like Franco something, man, but I used to have 2 rentals. I only have one. I had a guest that rented one of my apartments, man. And the red flags were there when I met her, but I ignored it. My soul had to go, whatever. So I got into this narcissist type, experience, dude. I ended up on the floor, powerless, crawling, dude, like just totally disembodied. After, I've been quote unquote, clean and sober for, 6-7 years, celibate for 5 years. And she came into my field, man, and I see the red flags. But something happened where I went ahead and trampled over the red flags, man. I ate them for breakfast. and I ended up totally disembodied once again. On the floor, like literally, like not. It was. I felt like I felt for all those years, man.
Right.
And I heard you say that. Why would you do something that you wouldn't want to do at this point? That's when you said that one day. And when nobody's watching, and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing, man. Yeah. But I felt, totally disembodied. And then when at one moment I finally, maybe my soul came back with an upgrade, like something happened where that went on for 3 months, the beginning, and then boom, 2021. And then I had to slowly but surely, man, come back to center, come back to sovereignty, and it was a hell of a ride, man. And so it was like the things you kept saying, you know. And I was just, it was incredible, man. It was quite the synchronicity there. And then that's when a lot of my shedding started to happen. And
in
then
2021.
yeah, after that experience, man, because then I walked away from that. I walked away. I created space between my family. I had built my life around a 12-step environment. And I still, I mean, I'm still committed to the life, but I, walking away from that wasn't easy, to a point of, like, okay, does this serve me anymore? The way I'm doing it, I need to reformulate this, reformulate. Well, that wasn't easy, man.
Yeah. Well, you think about the conditioning, right? Like, programs of the conditioning. But and you've brought this up, and you've alluded and actually spoken this, but you think about it even more so. So, in other words, lack of a better word, it's not just alcohol, drugs, and sex that what we call addictions, right? It can be any habit. It can be any pattern, right? It can be going to 12-step meetings. It can be obviously relationships. It can be lots of things. And it's this, again, to me, that you're the embodiment, an example, a living example. You're fresh meat, man. You're fresh meat. You're talking about just this year. You're talking about you're talking about like 150 days ago. This is fresh meat. This is fresh intel. And you're extracting yourself, which is a lot of the energy right now. And you know what? Extracting is probably not the right word. It's actually, you're transforming, because we've spent too much time running and saying that we're elevating. Okay? True. We have. We turn our back on these people or these things or whatever because we're elevated. We're a higher frequency, and they're just not there yet. Well, guess what? It's the other way around, because they are the universe, and we're the ones trying to match the frequency. And this is not, I don't think, of the human comprehension thing. And I'm not saying I got all the answers. What I'm trying to say is we can't run anymore. We can't. And how that works, I don't know, but I love your words and your wisdom, because I relate to the streets and I get it. When you live on the streets, there's a code. There's a couple of rules. And one, keep your eyes open. It's almost like you trust because you got no choice. You're like in the fucking jungle, right? I think about this sometimes. I think about going back out on the road, or what would I do if I just, even walking through the forest, and I get this little chill. I'm like, oh, that's scary. What if I run into a snake or a bear or something, right? But when you're on the streets, you don't have fear, because fear's gone, because you don't have a choice, and it's a gift. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a code, and that code is you work with what you have. You eat what you got, and you break bread with whoever's sitting next to you, and it's a fact. And now, is it always, a smooth ride? No. But are you going to tell me that the corporate world was a smooth ride? Right? I mean, and they all have the same characteristics if you look deep enough, and it's all the same game. And that's why I say, whether it's 12-step, I love whiskey and beer, and a good joint, I did. Whatever it is, whatever your Jesus is, they're all really one program. It's all one program. The whole history is one program. It's just to keep us from ourselves. That's it.
I was thinking about that today. Yeah.
And then, like you said, well, okay, we found ourselves now. Game over. Oh, no. God just came down. The goddess just came down. Mother goddess just came down and said, no. The game's not over. The game just started. So I often say, okay, we came into this thing with the only thing we're going to leave with is what we experience in between the time we came in and the time we leave. That's the gold. That's the new Akashic. That's the new code. So we've gotten to the point where we are close enough to the frequency or the alignment of what we came in with. Now we have all this raw material that's been our experiential, right? And now the mother, the father is saying, now go make something with that. That's God, right? That's because we're taking this raw material that's all pure God substance, God is substance, and we're going to make something of it. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing how the purer and pure, this is just my opinion, but the purer and purer intel that's coming in is coming from this, as Mary Rodwell says, the new human.
It has to be that way because we've never been human.
Yeah.
You know, and to your point, everything, the matrix, to be honest with you, the inverted matrix, if we want, it's a distraction. We used to call them addictions. We call them disembodiment because it's based on there's no now moment. So if there's no now moment, everything's an illusion. So what you're saying is only in the now moment is where that creativity starts. That's where the point of creation, some call it the plasma energy, you know, whether it's matter, antimatter, where we're at the 0 point. And anything that takes me out of that, anything that does anything for me is a distraction.
And a potential program.
You can bet on it, man, because it's all, like we said, you know, anything could be program or code. It depends on me, on my internal condition.
Yeah. And, you know, and the words don't match anymore. You know, like the word attachment gets on my nerves. It's to me, it's almost like, or let's just say non-attachment. It's spiritual bypassing. You can't attach from that which you can unattach from. You can't unattach from what you're attached from. We're one, but there's some type of detachment that is necessary because we're thinking through the old human or what didn't know, you know, the before the shift perspective. That is a free, you know, that in other words, it's our effort to try to get to this space where we're freestyling, free flowing, and that's the magic, and that's the creativity, and that's the energy of new creation, and man, I mean, everything is just flipping, really. I mean, it's just flipping. And the minute you think you got a hold on it, it's like a slippery eel. And it's different for everybody. You could have a truth that's totally out of my alignment. But then here comes the human again, like you said. Okay. You know what it reminds me of? I'm a little older than you. I'm 59. But there used to be this cartoon, a Looney Tune cartoon. It was my favorite cartoon. And it was a sheepdog and a coyote. And every day, the sheepdog and the coyote would go to work, and they would punch the clock, and the sheepdog would beat the living hell out of the coyote all day long. And every day, they would punch out, and they would walk home together, right? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I think things have changed, man. And like I said, I feel the synchronicity. But at the same time, it feels good, man.
Mhm. Yeah, it does.
It feels good to be where we're at. You know, it feels good to feel connected, to feel the energy of all these beautiful souls around the world, man. You know, because yeah, it could be daunting at times, you know, to feel you know, isolated, or you know, we go into victim consciousness, or you know, and this and that, because it's a part of it. I think we all go through. I'm a work in progress, but it's, you know, it feels good to be able to experience, and I really feel like that I have the opportunity, we have the opportunity, whenever we do, if we do leave this body, to finally experience what it is to be human.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to live without the programming. Because you know, you think about how much the ego holds us back, and suppose it's, you imagine what we could do if we didn't have the ego, just for a second. It's like, wow, man, if I didn't have the ego,
Well, there'd be no second guess. You would just it'd be all instinct and intuition, and that is that space that we're headed for. I guess, you know. I mean, but I like what you said too, because as much, and this is to me a very positive sign, as much disruption. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean energy coming and things happen and triggers and this and that and this and that. There is this very slow, steady, deliberate, ascending frequency of, wow, this is kind of cool. Wow. You know? And I love what you said a second ago. I don't know if I heard it right, but if we leave this body, if we go somewhere, if there is a 6th and 7th and 99th dimension, if, you know, we're going to go home to the Elohim or the central sun, or the whatever, we don't know. We could be worm dirt. You don't know. I don't care who you are. You don't know. Prove it. Prove it. So what do you have? This is all we got. This is it.
This is it. Interpersonal relationship experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they say, some circles: experience, strength, and hope. I mean, that's all we have, man.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, the connection, one human, a pure connection, and because nobody knows. But that's it. That's the cool thing, Todd. I don't need to know anymore, man.
No.
I don't need to have all the answers. I don't need to know.
No. Well, I don't think we're going to have a choice, because if you need to know, that means that you're already out of body, because you're thinking. And I remember, because I got hit hard, you know, and I mean, what I mean is a lot came in the first few months, and I was homeless. So I didn't have a whole lot of time. You know what I mean? I mean, everything was like disconnected. And I remember getting to a point and going, you know, because you're thinking like, okay, I see an angel just appeared and this is happening. What the hell, you know, is going on? And then, of course, the human's in there, and it's like trying to make sense of it, right? And I remember getting to a point and getting the message, how do you know? I don't. How do you don't know? I do. You know, like, what is this, a trick question, God? And then it was, how do you know or not know that what you actually carry forward, you know, thoughts, you know, whatever you want to call it, understanding, thoughts, whatever, beliefs, how do you know or not know that that's not exactly what happens beyond this realm? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know that God, goddess itself is not a constant, not a noun, but a constant flow, and that what's carried forward is what occurs? So like an example would be, if this is the way it works, whatever frequency I'm at, whatever vibration I'm at, if I physically transition, wherever I go, I'm going to be at the exact same place, right? I mean, the rule's still the same. You can't miss a step on the soul highway. You know what I mean? That kind
I
of,
gotcha.
you know what I mean? Pattern, that kind of pattern. So how do we know? How do I know? You know, trees have been a big thing for me, and I'm talking to them all the time. But I hear them different now. But I couldn't hear them the way I hear them now for a long time because I didn't believe I could. But I didn't know I didn't believe I could. I took it to a certain level and I heard them in a certain way, but I thought, well, this is how it worked. But then I worked on it. But this is an example of what we're all doing, I think is what I'm trying to say. Our belief system is expanding because our acceptance of more aspects of dark and light, a wider expanse of polarities we're accepting. Therefore, our ability to create and everything goes with it is expanded. But it's not like what I expected. Is it for you? I thought it was going to be something a little bit different.
This is interesting. The belief, you know, I felt that there was been a transition now into this new, you know, realm that we're experiencing, where I think we're moving from belief to knowingness.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're you know what I'm saying, where the belief, the concept of a belief system is being outdated. We're going to knowingness, because a lot of times I can express, but I get like a feeling, like a memory, a knowingness.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get a feeling of knowing, okay, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Relax. I've always, you know, traditionally for many years been a bundle of fear, Todd. Afraid of everything, man. From a young age, man. That's why I decided to disembody, dude. I was afraid, just afraid to walk out, afraid of meeting people, afraid of, you know, what are people going to think of me? You know, you know, I was afraid of everything, you know, just afraid of punishment. That's why I became a perfectionist, because when I was young age, you know, it was core physical punishment. So, okay, I'm going to get the belt. I'm going to get punished. So everything better be perfect. So it created a trauma, like, you know, like I'm afraid. It's like I'm on my nerves all the time. So shit, this is not safe in here. Let me leave my body every chance I get. Always been a bundle of fear, dude. Couldn't go to the doctor, couldn't go anywhere because I'm afraid of the consequences. And so now finally coming home to the body, coming home to sovereignty, is that feeling, that knowingness. I don't have to believe in anything, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't need to know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters now to me is that I can get a knowingness, man, that everything is okay. Mm-hmm. I am where I'm supposed to be, man. Mm-hmm. It's safe. It was never safe in the body, and now it's becoming safe in the society, in the world. I don't have to agree with it. No matter what's going on, here's the weird. Now it may be the loudest external, whatever in the history of the human, I've never felt safer, man.
True. See, I think sometimes I don't, and I've talked to Franco about this. We spent some time together at Soulogy Fest. He stayed in the condo with me, and you know, like everything is like like when you get a fortune told, or you know what I mean? To me, it is. It's like a snapshot of your trajectory. As soon as that session's over, everything's subject to change. So there's a knowing, for me, there's a knowing that something really big is going on, something bigger than all of us, and it's going down no matter what. Let go or be dragged. But I don't agree, and I never did, even when I was reading, you know, all the time for many years in my 20s and 30s. There was always something about the Eastern traditions that I didn't care for, because it was almost like, what's the point? Well, everything is made at the same time, and you know, these, you know what I mean? And I'm not throwing rocks at it, because there's a lot of great stuff there. But there's a reason that we're 99% of the time conscious in this body, with what is apparently accessibility to less than 1% of our multidimensionality. There's a reason, and the universe is a paradox. So we are, I believe, you know, the mission and the prize. So there's something about, and it's not, let me teach you how to do it. And it's not, it's a space. It's that place where you're totally like, when you fall off a bicycle or you get in a car wreck and everything slows down, right? Or you're in playing sports or you're on your motorcycle and there's just this moment where everything just lights up. It's that.
Yeah.
I think that's our offering, both what we can embrace and experience, but also what we can offer the universe through that experience. Because I'm not saying it's not attainable other places, but how do you attain that after going through the grind of Earth incarnations, where you have this very dense physical replication of that which I came from? I mean, this is, to me, I can't even imagine that there, up to this point, that there has been a greater opportunity in the multiverse. I just can't even fathom it. It's like we were thrown into, as a lot of people have said on this show, and I've even been told when Morgan channeled Mother Goddess when I first met her, and the Mother Goddess said, you knew what you were getting into, but you didn't. I like, that sums it up. That's like the best answer I've ever heard. Like, there's a feeling in me that say, I know I came down here, but I didn't know it was going to be like this, and I've heard so many people say that. So there's got to be a value to the skin in the game. And maybe it's not just because you came, you're given this, but you came, you put yourself out there, and you are going to be given the opportunity to go into a field of potential that's never been had before. And even the universe, even the galactics, they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know how far we're going to take this thing. But I guarantee you they're sitting on the edge of their seat.
I feel that too, man. I feel that too.
Yeah.
And whatever we put out there, whatever we emanate, that's what we're gonna get back, man. The energy of that reciprocate. I think it's definitely being reciprocated, but we can't fool ourselves. We can't fool the universe, anymore.
No. You never could.
We thought we could.
Yeah.
We thought we could.
Well,
like you said,
and listening to you too, one of the things and you probably heard me say this, I've wanted to do whatever I could to blend disclosure platforms, conspiracy platforms, Truther and light, Starseeds or whatever, Lightworker. But I realize that that's the old thinking, it's not about that. It's about being able to go to my friends, some who've been on this show, some who people know very well, and say, there's a reason we haven't collaborated. Let's be upfront about it. And like you said, we might walk away from that discussion with opinions that are still not in alignment with each other, but we can damn sure be friends. But we're not going to be friends by you come on my show, I go on your show, and let's blow smoke up each other's asses, right? And let's try to expand our audiences. That's the old paradigm. But we could go on the show and say, hey, I don't agree with him, and she doesn't agree with me, but we're fucking united, and we're trying to figure this out too, people. So what's your response? It's going to take at least, to me, energetically, what you're saying is an absolute slam dunk. There's no doubt. How far can we take that in the physical? That's embodiment. I don't know what the answer is. But there are some good signs, I think. And one of those signs to me is, I know there's stuff going on out there, but the way this information is being presented, and when you say mainstream media, you might as well say Facebook, YouTube, Google, the whole fucking 9 yards. But the level of it's a juvenile. It's like this. It's not even distorted. It's a cartoon. Like the way that things are being presented are so ridiculous that whatever's behind that, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. I mean, they just don't, right? Because they're grasping at straws.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like you said too, but sure feels good, right? I mean, I'm looking out this window. I got this butterfly coming here. I swear, I swear to God, 5 days in a row at the right time, comes at the same place. It sits there, it spreads its wings, and it starts doing this. Like, hey, this isn't happening, but it is,
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
it's the little things,
I
man.
know.
It feels good. I go on my rooftop, man. I look at the stars at night or the sunset, in the morning, because the city gets noisy at night. You could feel the energy, the tourists come out, the party crowd, just the noise. And then in the morning, I get up early. They're all sleeping, and everything's quiet, man. I can hear the birds. I can watch the sun come up. I could go walk the beach, and nobody's there. It feels like a different energy, and I can charge myself. And like you said, it's like we're living in it. It's like it definitely feels different. It feels different, and we're tapping into those because it's a now moment. It's not, we're not in the past, we're not in the future. It's a now moment, man. And it feels good. I mean, there's falling in love with the process. Somebody told me that. Fall in love with your evolution, man. Fall in love with what you have to go through. Even if you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling fearful, you're feeling this and that, because I've had I went to a medium doctor and have had to work, all these things that I do now is not virtue, Todd. I didn't decide, well, I'm going to be a vegan because I don't want to kill animals. No, I almost had a organ shutdown. I weighed 40 pounds more than I do now. And I was only, and this was, like 2 or 3 years ago. And the guy did a pulsology. He took my pulse, man. He gave me a timeline of a quantum healing. He goes, you left pieces of your soul all throughout your life and this and this and that, and you need to make these changes. And so I had to fall in love, and I fell off the wagon a couple of times, and become disciplined and do, have a routine and find freedom in discipline, because I always associated discipline with a punishment.
Yeah.
But no, man, there's freedom in having discipline and having self-love and putting yourself first and doing the things that I need to do. And I find freedom in that now, from the programming, from everything. And if I don't fall in love with that, because also, going through the, getting out of the state of consciousness of distraction, disembodiment, we call them addiction. I had my, took some time, dude. It wasn't immediate, but I had to fall in love with the process. And Nicola said it yesterday. She said, "Yo, you want this peace that I have? Are you willing to do this? No, well, that you're not gonna get it." And it's not like, it's just I don't know. I don't make up the rules, man. I just try and live with the rules of the universe. But I know that it takes work and it takes commitment.
Yeah.
And I see that in you, man. You show up I know you work harder now than when you work the corporate. And you say, "Oh, I got shift. I got a shift." He's like, "Well, he's working in shifts now. He's got the day shift, night shift." It's like, and so we work on ourselves, and we search for that 0 point, but it doesn't. I mean, I'm not Merlin yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
It fall in love with the process of shedding. Like you said, sometimes you come in, you said, I was crying last night, grieving, dude. I've grieved a lot, this month, dude,
Right.
grieving personalities, grieving, believe everything, dude. Just, this crying, like, I gotta let go of this,
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of grief this month for me, a lot of grieving, man. But
Yeah.
I fall in love with it because at the end of the day, if it's never had it so good, man. I've never had it so good. I'm living the life of my dreams, man. I'm telling you. And it wasn't a linear path, but I wouldn't have it any other way right now, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. I got off on a tangent. We started talking about something else, but I was saying, so I'm just that way. I'm like a numbers and a metrics freak, right? I mean, I look at information, and it's from my soul. It's just the way my soul's made up, and so I think about how's this going to play out. Is it going to be A, B, C, D, or all the above? And I'm going, I think it's going to be all the above. So if you just took like A, natural disasters, right? Let's just say that there was like 8 of them popped up around the world, and there was in everything, because what's going to level the playing field? There's certain things that will level the playing field that will take us to that point. I remember a few days ago, somebody was talking about the humanity, right? And somebody made a comment, well, we had this situation over here and everybody was just fucking each other, And then the person said, well, wait a minute. Somebody else wrote and said, well, wait a minute. We just had massive floods. People lost their homes and their lives. And it was amazing how people helped each other. Of cross culture, you know what I mean? And so, and if you look at the powerless powers that be, or whatever you want to call it, how do they unite? Well, they create a war, or they create a 9/11, or they create a COVID to mobilize the energy, right? Well, it's the same thing, but it's pure. Something happens, then the best of us comes out, right? Because what's been portrayed is that 90% of the world is shit. But it's not that way. It might be 1%, it might be 10%. But all of us are like us. I don't care if you're Catholic, Baptist, it doesn't matter, right? And so the universe is going to take us to that point. And what I'm getting at is, so imagine being at your 7th floor condo in Puerto Rico, and there's a tsunami coming, right? Or a hurricane or whatever. Now, who's going to be more likely to be more calm, cool, and collected, right? And maybe that's the work that we're going to do. Maybe it's not going to be Todd's going to do Soulogy and Morgan's going to do 0 Point and so-and-so's going to do this that they download and so-and-so's. Maybe it's not going to be that. Maybe it's going to be what you're talking about. Maybe it's going to be roll up your sleeves. There's the call. Let me go sit with this family of 6 children whose father just got washed out, and let me just hold space for them. Maybe it looks that small. Who knows?
I don't think it's that small, because Franco said in one of his shows with you that when he went to see his guide in one of his near death, or that he got to see the how it replicates the ripple effects of a simple action, man.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Maybe it's something from our perspective that looks that small, that is that big.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe we need to get over ourselves again. Okay, I have let go of Soulogy so many times. It hurt me. It pains me. It pains me that we don't have what I've received. and I'm not saying it's anything. It was only for me. It's not even meant for anybody else. But to have a infinite, multi-channeled, handheld, accessible, 24/7 live channel after channel after channel, built by the community for the community, replicating the universe in its collaboration frequency and so on. Maybe it's already been done. Maybe it's not going to be done. Maybe I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm in the loony bin and everybody else is ascended. I don't know. But we have more power and more strength and more potential by letting go every single minute and not getting hard and fast on anything. I mean, at a minimum, it's something to think about. And I think most of all that's probably one of the greatest gifts I see that people do, that people offer now from the human level is to make you think. It's to make another person think. Like there's things that you've brought to my attention today that I hadn't put together. Would I have down the road? Maybe. But it's this simplification that's occurring that's kind of amazing, because it's moving away from the woo-woo and it's putting us boots on the ground. And I believe that's the whole point. It's like you said, we don't even know what it is to be human.
We don't know what it is to live the simple life, man. And I think that feels good, because I think we're simplifying. I think part of this process, once you give yourself into the process and we surrender to it, at least with my experience, if I surrender into this evolution in consciousness and I surrender with wholeheartedly to service others, not to self-service me, and I really fall in love with humanity, man, my life simplifies to the point where it's just different. It's like the butterfly. It's just simplification. I'm not chasing things anymore. I let them come to me. What's your intention? Like they said, go to yoga class. My intention is not to have an intention. I don't want law of attraction. I don't want my ego to tell me what I'm missing. My life is perfect now. I have everything that I need today to be at peace with myself. I don't want to attract anything. I just want to be in the moment and be grateful for what I have and be of service, because it's a simplification. And we've never, as a society, as far as we know, because they could rewritten the history books or whatnot. That's true. But as far as what we know, we have access to. Have we ever lived? Because I've done that exercise. I went back to my childhood and my quantum healing, and I had a vision of a different, like living with nature, living in harmony. Not the patriarchal, the man going to the work, the woman, the housewife concept. That all these things that have been installed in us. I don't think we've ever really experienced what it is to be alive. As a collectively, and so I think that's what we have. And so as at least for me personally, as I go along in this process, inevitably the life just simplifies, man. It just, because it just becomes simpler, man. I mean, there's no way around it, because can't happen any other way.
So I want to ask you something before we get out of here, because you mentioned something earlier, and I think it would help a lot of people. It could. I mean, it's worth a shot. So you mentioned about the mission, the template that your mother took on. The word narcissist is used a lot in these circles. And certainly I can say this and I will say it's gospel, that a few years ago, it was polarizing. The empaths had to find themselves. I get that. And now the work begins to integrate the empath and the narcissist, because we all carry it. So it's been a real it's been a real player in our field. Narcissism, narcissist. And then, of course, there's not been a bigger one for any of us than the Dark Mother. And I believe the vast majority of the people here can relate to this in some form or fashion, proportionate to their experience. How have you gotten to this point? I'm not saying that you're done, and you're not either, but I'm just saying it looks like by the words that you spoke, and we've all done work on this, where are you at with it? How are you doing with it? What can you offer in that regard for anyone that might be seriously looking at revisiting that again, including me, to bring more equilibrium to themselves and therefore the collective?
Well, thank you for that, man. That's really touching that you would say that, and that you read, my energy and what that has meant to me, and what that without that, I'm never going to balance divine feminine and divine masculine. And without that, I have no shot. So the first thing I'll tell you is to be humble and say, yeah, I'm 53 years old and I'm still revisiting this. Get over myself that why am I still going back to this? I had to get over that. I put it in the drawer for a while and I pretended. But what's helped me is in Soulogy and Franco is to see that the way my mother chooses to love me, I have to honor that and respect that. I cannot control the situation, want to change people and say, well, you need to treat me this way. I'm not a victim. I simply chose her as my mother. And I deeply believed that. I chose my parents, my siblings, because I wanted to go to an experience. So now I cannot victimize her, myself, or the universe, or blame God, blame whatever, poor me. I have to accept that because of the way she was willing to play that, I'm here sitting here talking to you, man. It's helped me. I had to come to terms with that and say, wait a minute, that's part of my soul evolution. That's the gifts of the universe that we spend all these years in therapy and the old paradigm and this and forget. No, man. It's thankfulness, it's gratefulness that I can live that and see it for the perfectness that it is. And at the same time, the hard part that I'm working out recently, that's been my biggest obstacle that now is the guilt that I felt. Okay, well now I'm working this other thing. I'm doing this with Todd and the humanity. I'm doing, I have to respect myself and my mission that it just doesn't compare. I'm done playing that role. And now I get to love her the way my soul chooses to, without guilt.
Yeah.
Without having to teach anybody a lesson, or without revenge, or without nothing. It's just the way that it is. Yeah. And I have to step out of the guilt consciousness, and say, if I need space, because that's the real feminine energy that now I understand why you keep bringing that up. We call it having the ball is having the ovaries, because that is you have to have the ovaries in your right place, man, to really come to terms with this and not feel guilty, and really do what your soul needs. And that's what the divine feminine is bringing to the table, man. And that's what the intel that I have. I said, if you're going to do this balancing, you better respect this divine and do these things that are supposedly that you need to do, regardless of what other people think of, regardless of what the other, and have faith and trust that in the end, like you said, everything's going to be known. So that's what I've done, man.
That's powerful, man. I'm digging it. We got to do this again.
Yeah, it's and it's a process, bro.
Sure
it's a process, but
but that's good. That's
hopefully that makes sense, man.
No, that's gold. It's gold. And let me just remind myself and anyone else that in any moment where you have a superior frequency, whether you want to admit it or not, and all you got to do is look at how you look at people. You're a narcissist, and I don't think we're narcissists. We have a makeup that has
just like we discovered. Sorry, we have these aspects that are archangel, the gauge that we recently. Those are me, man. That's me, dude.
That's right.
So we have narcissism code. We have all these aspects that we can activate or deactivate in any moment.
Yeah, that's right. Or transform, because there might be a superpower beneath it, right? Yeah. I always say, from my own experience, and then of course talking to so many other people, 3,000 shows, that you can always tell a strong soul because it's a stubborn human. So a stubborn soul makes a stubborn human, and I think they chose the stubborn souls because they knew they'd be stubborn, and they might be a hard case, but when we flip and when we get it, we're not going to back down for nothing. And here we are. So, man, it's such a pleasure meeting you. I have had this inkling in my head. I'm here. I am publicizing my strategy as an outlaw, but I don't care because I'm not afraid. But I looked up the U.S. territories the other day, and I thought, yeah, that might be a way to start this ball rolling. So who knows? Maybe I'll be in Puerto Rico. You never know. But it's good.
You have a place to stay, man.
Dude, I'm
here in the heart of the city, man.
I'm just sorry I'm not eating meat anymore. I'd like to have some of that.
No pork, man. We're not gonna do it, dude. Well, you can do it. I'm not gonna.
No. I'm done. I mean, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I've been doing pretty good. I mean, I shouted myself a grilled cheese sandwich yesterday because I had some pretty massive developments. But right on. But man, it's good seeing you. I feel
hopefully, man, anytime, dude.
Yeah,
that you want to do this again, man.
Yeah, this has been real good. Dude. It's been real good for me. It really has. It's very validating after this is now the second day of our new life. Based on everybody's intel and everybody's knowing. But man, I can't believe the response yesterday. It's just there, I mean, and it's nice because I think we are starting to build a collective knowing, even if we're just a strong minority, it's obviously we're making a difference. So I appreciate you. I honor and respect and love you and hold you in the highest reverence in this moment. And all of you, peace out. I'm going to go see if I can energetically chase Morgan Lee's around.
I love her your surroundings, by the way, man. I'm happy.
Are they cool?
Man. That looks beautiful, man.
She landed in a good place after a lot of initiation over there.
Yeah.
But that's what happens, man. You get what you put into it. So all right.
Much
Peace
love,
out,
man.
everybody. All right, man.